Hello everyone, my name is Zuzana and welcome to my Piano Promise channel dedicated to help you to learn how to play piano if you are the beginner or improve your piano playing in case you have been learning for some time and you are looking for some tips and insights to your learning. Today I'm going to talk about one of the most popular pieces in piano playing, piano literature. It's Johann Sebastian Bach's Prelude in C major number 1. I don't know anyone who doesn't know this piece, and if you are serious about learning piano, it's one of the pieces you would like to have in your repertoire. I must say that all my students ask me to learn to play this piece, and I always say yes because it's one of the pieces. I said yes, have it in your repertoire. It's a beautiful piece. It's not difficult to learn. You can be on intermediate level and it's manageable, so you don't need to be advanced player, but as I always say, it's important to play it properly in a style and understanding of the composer and understanding of the period of the music. So that's, I always encourage my students to learn more than just about the piece, because it's important to be able to reflect on this knowledge. So what I'm going to use today, I'm going to use the book. I'm going to show it to you. It's Johann Sebastian Bach. This is the auto-text version I'm using, but you can see I have a copy on my piano. The reason why, because I always like writing the notes, and I don't want to forget to mention something I think is important, and so if I don't want to write it in my book, it's too special for me, so it's here. So I'm encouraging you to also have your music in front of you, so once when we start talking about the insights and tips of the piece, it's great if you are going to have it in front of you. I will do that, and I'm sure that you are very keen to hear what I would like to say, and I'm sure that there are so many tutorials online you can find, and it's just because this piece is so popular. But I hope that I can give you some of my insights and just learned over the years, as I have been teaching this piece for so many years, and I hope that I can give you some useful tips. So so get ready, get comfortable. It's very important to enjoy process, enjoy learning, not to be tired if you can be not tired, and not to be stressed, and just enjoy the moment. So we will go through the piece, but as I said, let's just talk firstly about the few important things. Let's talk about the composer, let's talk about the style of the music, and a little bit of background of this prelude. So as I said, important, and I always say to my students, learn about it as well. So let's talk about Johann Sebastian Bach. So Bach is one of the two main composers of the period of the music we call baroque. Baroque was around 16, a little bit of 17th century, and it was Bach and it was also Handel, two main composers. Now, I always encourage my students to, when it comes to playing this piece, and generally speaking, to call or say the full name of the composer, so Johann Sebastian Bach. The reason why, because there is a bit of gossip. So Bach had many children, and four of his children, four sons, became also well-known composers in the next period. So it's important to always know, when we talk about Johann Sebastian Bach, mostly we talk about him, but his sons are the great composers, and they created beautiful music as well. So let's talk now about the piece. So everybody knows it as a prelude in C major, and Johann Sebastian Bach actually wrote 48 of these preludes and fugues. So they're in two books, and they're in a book called Well-Tempered Clavier. Clavier meant in translation keyboard. So actually, when I look at the what I have written here, says that he wrote in Clavier, in the Well-Tempered Clavier, you have all preludes and fugues going through all tones and semitones. So that's why the first one we are going to play is in C major, and so that's prelude, and then you have a fugue in C major, and then you go to C sharp major prelude and C sharp minor. It goes through all the semitones. So as I mentioned, it's prelude and fugue. So prelude is always introductory piece to fugue. So prelude is a little bit simple, more straightforward, and then fugue is much more complex. It's just the few voices, independent voices, are playing together, and yeah, not so easy to learn as to learn preludes. Now, this in C major is popular, and I always, if you would like to know more about the basics of the playing, so when you look at the piece, and maybe we can start looking at it. So when you look at this, so you can see it's quite regular structure. There's a rhythmical pattern which is repeating through whole piece. Yeah, and we have what I call it broken chords in the right hand, and then some people call it arpeggio. So just for some reason, for me, it works as a broken chord, and I will tell you also why, because there is a tip how I like asking my students to practice it and play it, because then they can actually learn it quicker, and also they are more safe and more comfortable with the piece. So when it comes to, yes, so we have this rhythmical pattern in right hand, which is repeated through whole piece, and then similar pattern in left hand. So I always say to my students, let's have a look to the right hand. So we have the pattern of the broken chords, and I always see it as a one like mini phrase, and I always make sure, and that's what I have in a circle, always make sure that the last note of this broken chord or arpeggio is played softer, E. So if you look at the note E, and then you have again the same rhythmical pattern. So through whole piece I always say make sure that it's not strong, the last note, because many times I hear this when my students start playing, it's the yes. So this is one thing which I always say, make sure that you are playing it softer and you are creating this lovely rounded sound. Yes. So sometimes I'm thinking about the waves, how waves are coming to us and leaving. So it's a similar feel. That's me. I use lots of kind of visual aspects when I'm playing. It helps me to create this expression I would like to. Now when you look at the left hand has the pattern. So it's always, we have a note which is the bass note, longer note, in minims in this case. In Australia, so if you are watching in America, I know you are using different terms. So this one is always stronger for me, and then it's softer. I always make sure that E needs to be softer. So again, this is what I'm saying to my student. Make sure that E is softer. So put a slight accent on the first note. You can say lean on a note, and then soft. And make sure that you are holding this E until the next C. Again, we have next pattern. And then we have C and D, and C and D. And that's important because, again, this is going to be through whole piece, and we just have to make sure that we are playing it in nice manners. Now, when it comes to two things, I always talk. One is about the pedal. Yeah, so pedal, we know that when it comes to baroque music, pedal is, we should not use the pedal, but occasionally and specifically, apparently, this preludes and fugues, the Bach was asking not to use the pedal, but somehow with this prelude, the first prelude, there is something that I always think that we can use the pedal, but we have to be careful how we are using it. So it's about to create a nice and a little bit rounded sound, but just to make sure that you are not keeping one pedal for one bar or even more. Otherwise, you are clashing the harmonies, and it's become messy. So if I'm going to talk about the pedal, so I'm pressing the pedal on the C and playing right hand. Again, changing the pedal and playing right hand. Change the pedal, change the pedal, change the pedal. And this is going through whole piece. Now, when it comes to the last few bars, we are talking about the 2 bars before complete the end. So there is the moment, and it's just one of the 2 bars. I think everybody is making mistakes. There's, for some reason, there is a certain tension when those 2 bars are approaching. So once people are making mistakes there. And the secondly is also, I always say, make sure that you are releasing the pedal in the right moment, because if you are making mistakes and plus you are not releasing the pedal, it's a little bit of mess happening there. So it's the bar, that's the before the last chord, C major chord, so there are 2 bars before, so that's C. And now when I'm going to play F, I'm releasing the pedal. Okay, so there is no pedal, because if I keep the pedal, you can hear it doesn't sound good, just be careful, don't do it. So, and then the same with the next bar. Release the pedal, and then we play the last chord. So I actually jumped through, you know, I didn't, as you can see, I didn't play the whole piece, but I will. So now when it comes to dynamics, yes, so there are a few ways to play it. I mean, there are so many different interpretations and everybody can feel differently about this piece. I think what I like here, just to have a little bit more playfulness and excitement, I like using something called terrace dynamics, which was very popular in Baroque music. So it's the contrast. I always say create the contrast, but just make sure that it's not too strong contrast. You don't go too forte. For me, it's more working with the piano, mezzo piano, mezzo forte. That's it. There is no stronger sound for me. So just again, because we need to create balance and understand the style of this period of the music. So I'm going now to play it for you. I'm sure that you are keen to hear how I'm going through this piece with my understanding of the dynamics. So I'm starting in mezzo piano. As I said, make sure the last note of the phrase I call, or the arpeggio or the broken chord, is soft. And the first note in bass clef is stronger. Now I'm going to, in next bar now, I'm going to play in mezzo forte. I just feel like it needs to have a little bit of attention, a little bit of stronger sound. And now I like this idea of getting softer and playing in piano. And again, back to mezzo forte and back to piano. Keeping everything in piano now. This is my feel. And now I feel like creating a bit of tension, but getting back to piano. And now back to this contrast of piano and mezzo forte, so terrace dynamics. Piano. Keeping in piano. Still keeping in piano. And now from now I would start to feel like there is another point of tension. Crescendo. And I said no forte, but I'm saying like forte, but not too strong forte. And I'm always saying here, take a breath. Just I feel like there is the tension was building, and now we need to take a breath just to get to another part. I love this part. To get softer and keeping now staying in piano. And now there are these 2 bars. I always say to everyone, just take a breath and just think about it, relax about it, and try to get flow. And once when you relax, then it will happen. And my favorite, take breath before you play the last chord, and then you have also fermata and pause above the chord, so keep the chord longer. Just always say keep it like dying away, so let it to sound for longer, and then finish. So now, so I mentioned important things as dynamics and also pedal, how we can approach a pedal, or you don't need to use the pedal. That's another way of approaching it. And also how to practice. My favorite way of practicing broken chords or arpeggios is to play them at the same time. So when I look at the right hand, I have G, C and E, as you can see, and then it's repetition of the same. So I see it as a one block chord, so it's just one sound. Okay, and then I go to the next chord, which is exactly the same. Then I go to the next, and next, and next, and next. And I just think it's so beautiful. Actually, personally, I like it more played as a block chord. I hope that Bach can forgive me. And so this is, I always say to my students, when you see broken chord or block chord, play them, broken chord, play them as a block chord, because you will learn it faster and you will be more safe with development of the piece. So, okay, so you can do it in this way. You play left hand and then you play right hand. A left hand and right hand and left hand and right hand and left hand and right hand. That's one way how you can do it. And I'm sure if you try in this way, I'm sure that you are going to play it faster and you will be more fast in reading the notes. Now, and the second way is just to play all together, left hand and right hand. So we are creating fuller sound. And I really love to play this piece in this way. It's so beautiful. I'm sometimes thinking about the composers and how they felt while they were writing this music. The feelings, life situations. Who knows? It sounds very peaceful, very gentle feel. So anyway, this is the way how you can keep going, and the same applies to these few bars where it's always like they're coming, the last few bars, so you can do the same thing, play left hand and then play, so you can play the first two beats at the same time, and then you have the third beat and the fourth beat. And again, you can try that with next one, the same time. Now this is a little bit a part of the last few quavers or semi-quavers, because they could sound a little bit clashy in the end, not the most beautiful sound. Anyway, it's not so important to do it with the last few notes. So I hope that I gave you some insights how I played. As I said, it's a beautiful piece, not difficult to learn. You just need to understand the few rules about it, because I always say to play something, well, we need to understand the rules in the music, especially when we talk about music, Western classical music. Each period of music is beautiful and so different, and we always need to make sure that if we play Johann Sebastian Bach's music, it sounds like Johann Sebastian Bach. Because I always remember when I studied music, I'm from Slovakia, Czechoslovakia, and I remember I was probably 16, 17 and played some baroque piece, and I was it was the exam, and somehow I got very nervous, and I just know that one of the feedbacks was like, oh, you actually, it doesn't sound like baroque music, and stayed with me and making sure that I actually teach my students to understand it and play it in a style. So I hope that you enjoy my insights and some tips how to approach this piece, and I look forward to giving you more insights and tips in my new videos. And if you like my video, if I can please ask you to subscribe to my Piano Promise channel, it would be great. I would really appreciate it, and I look forward to learning together.